your thing bouncing?
I don't know. Y'all ready? You ready to be a man? You just asked me why my thing was bouncing. I don't know what that's about.
Pause. Wait,
here
no,
we go.
Everybody saw what.
Back at you
stop
again.
Playing.
It's gonna be off the chain tonight. Y'all get ready. Here we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Without valor, freedom dies. This is my shield. I bear it before me into battle, but it is not mine alone. It protects my brother on my left. It protects my city. I will never let my brother out of its shadow, nor my city out of its shelter. I will die with my shield before me, facing the enemy. Yeah. I'm either leaving with my shield or on it, and that's kind of where we are right now. That's what we wanted to do here because we just came off a Father's Day weekend, and we have all witnessed the attack on masculinity the world over, and what that is targeted at, and the reasons behind that is what we want to get into, and then also what we can do to try to kind of combat it. But before we do that, Marcus, you had some words you wanted to say to kind of clarify something, just in case anybody had some misgivings, maybe.
Sure. The first thing I wanted to say is, yes, I am proud to be a man, and I happen to be a straight man. Just because someone is gay, transgender, whatever the hell letter or craziness they come up with to put behind you, does not change the fact that you are a man. A man defends his family. He is the breadwinner. He is the person who defends everyone in the family. And I don't care what your sexuality is. Be a fucking man and defend your household, defend your life, defend your freedom, defend your kids, defend your mate. And the people that try to mix those two issues are doing so on purpose, because they know that that everything they can do to water down masculinity, whether it is straight masculinity or gay masculinity, is the advantage of the state and the shithole people that are trying to run the world. So I just wanted to make sure people understood thoroughly that when we say be a man, we don't mean don't be gay. I don't give a shit. I'm not gay, but I don't care what you do. Now, don't show it to a bunch of kids. That's not being a man.
Right. That's being a weirdo. Right. And we're not about that. But yeah, I mean, we all watch The Wire, right? Like, you might be Omar. I don't know. Like, you still got to be a man. Omar went through the whole world trying to take up for his boy Brandon. So anyway, it's a weird world out there. Nicco, my man, what was Father's Day weekend like around your way? I know that was also your birthday, so happy birthday, by the way. Everybody, tell Nicco happy birthday. It's his birthday. It was his birthday. So, what are you doing? You're not. There you are.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Hey, man. Look, this is number 2, you and me. All right, number 3, we throwing hands. It's got to be through the computer screen, but I don't know who's going to win it. But it's an interesting perspective for me because, as you know, I am brown skinned, and they threw Juneteenth right there. And one thing that I've kind of noticed is that Juneteenth was placed purposely on Father's Day. Like, it's not purposely, but like I wish you would try and put a holiday on Mother's Day. Try and replace Mama's Day.
Yeah.
Go ahead and try it.
For sure.
You don't know the riots that be coming down your throat and neck. So it's weird.
It's people with uteruses day, Nicco. It's not Mother's Day.
My bad. But there's
birthing
Birthing Person's Day. Yeah, that's right.
But
Yeah, they kind of
for
fucked
the
up when they did
father,
that.
it was like it's like a mix of, oh well, we want to celebrate a black holiday, but all the black people's communities are fucked up because not a lot of black masculine figures are there. And so when you can throw another thing on top of that piece of cake, you don't really taste the coconut and the vanilla. Something can overpower it. You feel me? So it was a fun experience to be able to see my dad be able to hang out with all of his kids. My uncle, I am no father, no sir. We're waiting on the banks to roll in, or the mother, one of the two. But
get that money right first.
You feel me? You feel me?
Look,
So
just to tell you.
But other than that, like I felt strange to the holiday overall because they're working on like overshadowing a Father's Day, and one of the least prevalent figures in the father in the black community is a father. They right. They made sure that even on Father's Day, we even said Happy Father's Day to moms, and I didn't recognize that until I got older.
Yeah, I saw some. Was it one of y'all that posted the video? Somebody put a video up that they had where they had this guy. He was saying, he's like, I'm not celebrating single mothers on Father's Day. Sorry, I'm not doing it. But you know, it's like this. It's like so weird. It's like, okay, yeah, there's some bad dads, but that doesn't mean that you
eradicate them.
Anyway, it's just it's very bizarre, and I have to take it back to Shamika Michelle when we had her on, and when she described her relationship with her ex, where they both recognized how important it is to have both parents involved in a child's life. And she and her ex had decided, rather than, like, they have their own differences, they decided they wanted to go their separate ways, but they wanted to work together to cooperate to make sure that their kids got what they needed. And there are too many parents, even in situations where there's not really any reason other than spite and bitterness and resentment, that people will actually like weaponize their children against each other.
On God, say it again, Chad.
They will weaponize their children against each other. And the children, what you have to recognize, and this is what really pisses me off about this, is every child is a mixture of those two biological people that put them on this earth. There are tendencies, there are genetic traits, there are all sorts of things that you get from your parents. And I know that there are situations parents get killed, or it's a horrible situation and the kid has, there's no choice but for the kid to end up in adoption or in foster care, and you hope that they find a proper family. But we cannot argue that it's wrong to say that the optimum is for both biological parents to have an active, important, and sustained role in every child's life. That is better for the kid. And so what I appreciate about what she did is that rather than the maybe anger or frustration or whatever, resentment or anything like that she and her ex may have had for each other, rather than weaponizing the children against each other or against weaponizing them against themselves, they chose to put all that stuff aside and focus on making sure that the kids had what they needed. And if that meant that they had to have a better relationship than they would have had if they didn't have kids, then they went ahead and made that happen. They put in the work, and it's, you got to sacrifice. Sometimes it takes that. It takes putting yourself second. And I saw Carolyn Borsinko. She's one of these, like, I don't know, libertarian influencer, YouTuber people or whatever. She said something about her number one priority is she's going to, I don't know, undo the GOP, actively campaign against the GOP in every opportunity. Jeff, one of our guys with Men of Order, he said, that's dumb. You should maybe have some kids and make them your number one priority instead.
That might be
like, how can that be your number one? Your number one priority is to fight the GOP. Like, I don't like either one of those, and that's still not my number one priority. My number one priority is my family. That's why I have this shirt. I wore this one. Who's your daddy? I thought about wearing this one because, I just want everybody to know this is where my priorities are. I have a daughter. Yes, she is beautiful. I also have all that other stuff that I won't say because I don't want the algorithm to get me. It may have already gotten the shirt, but it's not going to get me saying it out of my mouth. But anyway, y'all know the deal.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
how was you guys' Father's Day though, as a whole? Like, how was it?
Marcus,
being a father, because I can't.
Marcus may not remember. I don't know.
For sure. It was a beautiful weekend, and my Father's Day, in my mind, really, and it was part of the inspiration for doing this. It was amazing. I had my kids, my wife, friends who came together to celebrate being a father. And, I have my oldest son is a father. He's a wonderful father. I got to spend time with my grandchildren, both Skyla and Kyra, who are awesome. Skyla is a little bit older than Anya, and Kyra is 3. So it was a really good time about family. And now my family's different, so we sat around and got destroyed. And I mean destroyed.
Obliterated.
Right. Like everybody was destroyed. So we had a really good time. My dad showed up. Me and my dad do not get along, and we still don't get along, but I was nice to him. And my sister came, and my sister and I get along swimmingly. And I was nice to my dad. My dad was less than shitty with me sometimes, which is more than usual. So
that's a step in the right direction.
Count every blessing, celebrate every victory.
Every victory.
Sure. You never know.
But amidst all of that, we also did a lot of talking. We had some friends that came over, had an old friend that was kind of a hippie, and she was a libertarian leaning hippie, but she now was like, yep, anarchy. I like it. That's me for sure. And I felt on Friday night, I felt like the cult leader for Hotep Nation, because one of the dudes that she brought along with her, I'm like, you got to check these people out. So I threw at him a bunch of Hotep stuff, and he was like, I'm about it. That's the stuff. And so it was a really good weekend. And now we didn't do the traditional masculine things like lifting weights and I
don't do that shit on Father's Day either.
Right.
But wait, were either of you guys on the grill, or were you guys?
I was going to say this is the first year in forever that I did not man a grill.
What?
I was so
Chad got
I was so proud of myself. I was so proud of myself. But no, so we had, like, my son had a basketball tournament out of town, and this is crazy. From Friday and Saturday, they played 10 games total. Then they left 1:30 on Father's Day to go to Birmingham, and they spent the last few days over there playing in a tournament. I think they played 15 games in the last 3 days. Wrapping up today. He gets back tonight in a few hours. But yeah, it's like he played 25 games in like 6 days. So
that's a lot of games.
And he's coming off a back injury, and he rolled his ankle, and then he had some dude undercut him in another game, and he kind of came down on his hands and wrenched his back again.
We like that.
He kept playing through it. Yeah, fuck you, Jabari. I forgot to tell you fuck you when we started, but yeah, I gotta. So he says I'm gonna have to check the replay. He said, speaking of family, I got a little king, get a little king ready for bed. Salute to Marcus, salute Nicco, and salute Chad, my number one hater. That's a thing Jabari and I have. He says I'm his number one hater. And so anyway, every time like something happens, I'll like give him some kudos, and then I'll say, but I still hate you. And then he just like he eats it up. So anyway, it's all love.
Wait. So you beefing with my man Jabari, and you beefing with Wasted Talent. Are you starting to list up, Chad? You got a list.
For sure. Who else do I got beef with? Oh, Drew Sample. I was talking shit to him. He posted some stuff with some like, I don't know, rainbow police car or something like that. And I was like, you would post this. Because it's like some police thing. Like it's like the hate crime arrest vehicle or something like that in Ohio or something. And it's just so like,
Nothing says security like a rainbow vehicle
Bro,
driving down the road.
Man, I don't even want to.
And I'm not talking about gay. I'm just saying, yes,
No,
that is.
it's just
happy
the way
unicorn.
Is a
the
rainbow
whole
vehicle an
energy-
electrical vehicle? Because
No,
if you
it
think
wasn't.
about it,
It
like
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Fun fact: all the electrical cars are running off of fossil fuels too. So suck it.
Technically,
Y'all just
coal-powered vehicles.
yeah,
y'all are
People
just
are
being
just idiots.
suckered. Yeah.
Finesse
So,
game is still on point.
yes. Look, man, the man is. I was telling somebody today, like about all the stuff with the shots and everything. I was like, it's not all that different from what's coming out. Peace, Jabari. From what's coming down the pike with this whole Project Hamilton central bank digital currency stuff. It's going to be the same thing where it's going to be like, oh no, this is better and it's safer and it's you just have to like give all your information to everybody and then oh by the way we might shut you down. And oh by the way, did y'all see that Elon Musk is talking about wanting to turn Twitter into basically like WeChat, which is the Chinese like WhatsApp sort of deal
with the credit score and all that fun stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I already knew that this was headed that way.
And so
I know,
like,
I'm shocked.
It's like, man, so free speech ain't free either, I guess. All right. So
they'll
be like, you can say whatever you want and we will watch it all and we'll let you keep your account. We just won't let you keep anything else.
Right. You can be on Twitter.
You keep talking shit on Twitter all you want.
Go ahead. But you can only eat 3 ramen noodle packets a week. Enjoy.
Yo, I finally watched Soylent Green for the first time. Y'all ever seen that shit?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, so spoiler alert.
You can go ahead.
It ain't worth watching. It's not worth watching. The only thing that's worth watching about it is like you get to see that they actually made this movie. And the movie was made like in 1971 or 2 or somewhere like that.
That's old.
And the setting is 2022.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the setting is 2022.
How accurate?
And it's the future, so it's the future for them anyway, 50 years ahead back then. Basically like the whole world is in poverty and you can't really do anything except for like the elites can have like strawberries and stuff. Nobody knows what anything tastes like, looks like anymore. Nobody knows what grass looks like anymore. All this stuff.
That sounds just about right.
So they keep coming out with these new, now there's Soylent Red, there's Soylent Yellow, there's Soylent Green is the new product that's coming out. And it's this stuff that how they had in the Star Wars movies, they had those little squares that you would get and you'd like put it in a pot and put some water and it would like blossom up into a big loaf of bread or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's some shit like that. Like they give you these little wafers and you go get a bag of wafers and they give you like a kilo or a half a kilo or a quarter kilo, depending on whatever the rationing is. Yeah. So spoiler alert, all of these Soylent products are all the dead people run through a factory, ground up, and made into these little patties, and they feed you back to yourself.
It reminded me of like Snowpiercer with Chris Evans.
See, I never saw it. I've seen the little trailer.
Spoiler alert, those little meat packy thingies were big-ass fat cockroaches, and they just grounded it up and gave it to them.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting.
You just talked about humans.
But it's not as evil as humans.
Right.
Like cockroaches is disgusting. If I ate that and then found out about it later, I would vomit until I couldn't vomit anything anymore. But to find out that you've been eating people this whole time is like, oh, and then they just like, if you protest, they just run these big dump trucks through the city with a front end loader. And they just go, they call them the scoops. The scoops are coming and they just scoop the people up who are rioting and protesting. And they just turn them into Soylent Green too.
So nobody questioned, like, hey.
Well, apparently nobody knew. I don't know. It's like it's like
all these bodies are getting tossed up into a big ass truck.
Yeah, it's an awful.
It's on some like Divergent / Hunger Games type, energy where it's like you don't get to do anything unless they tell you, and you got to stay in your house, and you can't eat, you can't hunt, and you can't grow anything, and they'll tell you what you can have and what you can't have, that kind of shit. So like the ability to question, you asked, like nobody questioned. You weren't allowed to question.
Yeah,
that's the thing. You question. Oh, guess what? You're going to be made into Soylent Green now.
Right.
You
taste good with a ketchup.
Him and his family.
So.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, that's what happens when there's no masculinity in the world.
Man, you brought it back. I appreciate
That's what
you. I was
happens
about
when
to
there's
do
no
it.
masculinity when nobody fights back for what's theirs. Like everybody just said, fuck it. If you're masculine, you're evil. But the ones that aren't masculine, that are trying to be masculine, that's okay. What? That don't make no
Right?
sense.
Like if you the only people who are allowed to be masculine are the people who used to be women.
Right. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
Like, what
They
the
can be
fuck
like
is going
me.
on? It doesn't
Right.
even mean anything. That's what's so bizarre about this. Is like I saw somebody. Did y'all see that thing somebody posted online? This girl asked her boyfriend to define what a woman was, and it's like 17 pages of screenshots of text that he sent back of
No,
like
I
all
didn't
this
see
stuff about how it's impossible to define and everything. I'm like, okay, so peep game. You write all that stuff out about how it's not possible to define it. Yet there's all this stuff about like defend a woman's right to choose, which I mean that's like okay, I get it. I still think we've already had this discussion. Still think it's horrible, but I don't think that the state being involved really makes anything better. And then women's rights and women's sports and all this. It's like, well, what does that even mean anymore at this point?
Right.
So we haven't been able to define a woman all the way up until this point. Like,
no,
come on, humanity. Like,
but then if somebody's presenting as a woman, what are they presenting as if it's undefinable? Like, I don't even understand.
They're impersonating.
Anymore.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Well, no, but we don't even know. But the point is, when you can't define what is being impersonated, you can't even say that it's impersonating anything. We're getting to a point where it's just going to be what is desired, and this is where back to the masculinity thing. The most, and y'all need to keep your eyes open because this is the real game. There are people who have their different attractions or their different how they feel about who they are and everything, their different identities, and it's some real shit that people are going through, and I recognize that. What we have to be aware of, though, is that there are other people who don't give a fuck about them and don't give a fuck about you, who would want nothing more than to have all of us become eunuchs and have people made in factories and have everything else done by robots and have us being ground up and being fed back to each other.
Right.
And if you don't see that coming and don't kind of keep your head on a swivel for it, you might get caught up in some shit that you didn't even intend to be involved in.
They are doing it, snatching 500,000 kids off the face of this planet. Black women going faster than anything. And all of a sudden, there's what was it? A culling on our food, but we still have enough food for all this BS in these fast food restaurants that is coming through.
Right.
Like, where are they? Are they synthesized? Let me not. We get the point, everybody.
Yeah.
We get the point.
I think at the end of the day, the goal with the demasculization of or emasculization of society is part of an agenda. Part of it is men wouldn't allow this to happen. If we had strong, powerful men who wanted to defend their family and wanted to be men, we wouldn't have a lot of the issues that we're having today. And one of those issues is that whether they're over-sexualizing everyone, and I'm a very sexual person. I'm very in love with my wife, and it's clear that I'm in love with my wife when you're around me. But I'm not trying to have sex be the topic of every single thing that comes my way. It just is.
Time and a place.
So, yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Whether it's over-sexualization or the elimination of sexuality, they are trying to control sexuality. They're trying to control the world. And one of the tools to doing that is if they over-sexualize, the state is really good at causing a reaction. So over-sexualization, they're trying to feed the rise of violence, as what being a man is, the rise of being not a father or a husband, but a dictator. Them trying to rise that up as as the response to over sexualization, to the desexualization of men for the purpose of controlling the world. And because once you start controlling people and their sexuality, boom, you have the number one tool that people use for control.
Well,
that's our primary, like, it's one of our biggest necessities is to continue on what is it? A spring, an offspring, a legacy. It's one of the most important things that we've taken for granted and all that. And us as men have not corrected that. Like, for all this shit to be going on right now is because of the lack of men putting down their feet.
Yeah. Well, and taking responsibility for what they responsibility,
but we take a lot of responsibility due to the lack of responsibility and accountability women take now. And there's a lot more that we have to output, and we still get stepped on. And guess what? The white man is right. And we locked arms right now because y'all getting stomped on too.
Right.
And so, like, what happened to that masculinity? I've noticed, and I don't know if I'm wrong on this, so you can go most definitely chop me in my throat if I am, but when I would see, like, certain white couples, the white woman would most definitely run that shit. Most definitely run it. And when it comes to, like, if you were to go back, like I say in the hood, the man and the woman are beefing all the time. We're clashing heads. And I'm not saying that you guys don't clash heads, because the way you guys express is completely different from how we express. It's cracking, Natasha. And so
Natasha,
how we move is, or culturally, how different cultures move is dependent on how the masculinity is ran. So right now we have a whole bunch of black kids who are dying in the street left and right because they pulling triggers. Well, it's because they're hyperly emotional and didn't have no masculine figure to be like, shut that shit up. This is how you confront certain things. Instead of, well, get the fuck out my house, this, then the third, woo, woo, woo. And then next thing you know, he out on the streets with his boys, all emotionally stressed and traumatized. And all they want to do is just hurt and then protect their block because they still have that urgency and or that value in them, that instinct to protect something.
Right.
And they weren't properly guided.
Right, they're building empires, just like to quote Queensryche.
Yeah, and on the I love Queensryche. On the sexuality thing too, I want to say, one of the things that my baby brother Evan, who we had on, I don't know, about a year ago. I think we should probably try to do that. He and I have been talking a good bit here lately about a bunch of different things that might mesh well with where we're going with the show and everything. But
cool.
He talks about how one of the things that he deals with, because, all right, so preface, if you don't know already, my brother does it's going to sound weird. It's a sex ministry all over the world, but it's like he's trying to teach young people and young couples and even older, married couples about like a Christian, healthy, biblically based sort of, approach to sexuality, and approaching it from that perspective of, God's image and likeness and what that means, man and woman, and how the complementarity of the sexes, really, really brings that to fruition, and then how, like, that's how life is created. And it's a beautiful thing. One of the things that he tells me that he combats a lot is, so you have on the one hand, and Marcus, I'm kind of tapping into what you were saying. On the one hand is this sexual revolution, anything goes, it doesn't matter as long as it makes you have an orgasm, and it doesn't matter as long as it's fun and it's, whatever, like whatever freaky, kinky, whatever, it doesn't matter as long as it makes you feel that temporary pleasure. And what he's trying to say is, like, look, the pleasure is a gift, is something that's beautiful and is good, but the pleasure as the end only, and not the pleasure as part of something else that's bigger is part of what gets us in trouble, because then it can become addictive, and there can be all sorts of other things where that's where you end up with people, doing, it goes all the way down to like you end up with some stuff with kids or some weird, abusive type shit where people are into like rape stuff because it's the only thing that they can get off on anymore. Anyway, I don't want to go too far off onto that tangent. But he said on the flip side of that is a tendency that is just as dangerous to become over Puritanized, that then we become this, we see God as like this really mean cop looking around the corner to make sure we're not having any fun so that he can come beat us over the head if we have fun. Right. And there are a lot of people who think, yes, overbearing, that people who think that those are the two choices. It's this false dichotomy of it has to be sleep with whoever, whenever, doesn't matter who you hurt, doesn't matter how many abortions you have, how many kids you leave, abandoned or anything like that. Doesn't matter, just as long as you're getting off, that's good. And the other end of the spectrum is, no, you shouldn't even enjoy sex. You should just do it for the sake of only procreating. And if you enjoy it, you're probably going to hell because God doesn't want you to have fun. That's the false dichotomy that we're offered, right? And what he's trying to find is, no, we want this to be something where the act of love is free from use, abuse, and I can't remember what the other one was. But anyway, it's
Oh, well, misuse and abuse are the same.
It's like use, abuse, and something else. I can't remember. That's why we need to have him back on, because he's way better at this than I am.
Sure.
But anyway, you don't want something beautiful to be corrupted. And so just like with whether it's the vaccine stuff or anything else, like, okay, we're not saying all medicine is bad. And we're not saying that you should never have medicine, but we're also not saying that all medicine is good and you should take whatever they send to you and tell you is good for you and you have to take it. What would be really cool is if everybody could be looking out for the best interest of everyone and not just trying to line their own pockets and make themselves rich and push it on you to do it.
And controlled. Yeah. And the one thing too that I think we face is, I'm a very strong man. I manned the grill this past weekend. I cooked the burgers. I did I did a lot of the manual labor. I did a lot of the putting the mulch out in preparation. I did a lot of the carrying, all that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Amber fixed the food. Mm-hmm. So does that make me a misogynist because my wife's better at fixing food? No, it means that the person who's best at doing some shit did it. And I was better at, she's a vegetarian. We don't want her near the hamburgers. So, being a man and working with masculinity, yes, it involves sexuality. And yes, it involves a lot of this stuff. It doesn't mean that we think that women are bad. And it also doesn't mean that we don't understand that that's not always possible. Mm-hmm. This is one of the biggest influences I've gotten from Uncle Hotep is that statement that he made that the most advantageous family for any family to have is the male, the female, and the children. But that doesn't mean that always works out. Mm-hmm. But if it doesn't work out, I was talking to our friend, one of our friends this past weekend, and she was like, well, but I said something very similar. And she was like, well, but I raised my son and he's great. And I said, I understand that. We're not talking about individual instances where, it worked and it worked well. And it was probably better for your family.
And it was probably difficult too. It probably wasn't an easy thing for her to pull off.
Right.
Correct. We're not saying that. We're just saying that that's not what's the norm, and that's also not what is best for the for the child. And
it's not the design you would make. You would be like, correct. You know what? Let's design a system where there are no fathers and the women do everything. Like, what the fuck who comes up with that shit?
We'd be in the Amazon Amazonian society.
Right,
And
right.
I would be on stakes at this
Wonder
point.
Woman. Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think that one of the things that is hard for men to deal with in our current society that is constantly demonizing us is that it's okay to be a man. And I also throw into the face, I'm not violent. I'm not mean. I'm a decent person. I can be kind. I can do nice things for people. Those are all masculine qualities. My kids know if my daughter is hurt, she knows, come to daddy. Daddy will take care of it because it's my goddamn job and I take it very seriously.
So a couple of things on that. One is that I think one of the other things that people tend to lose sight of with this is that men being men actually facilitates, allows, and I don't know, really like edifies women being women too. Like when men aren't men, now the women have to try to be men too.
Right.
Just like imagine if women had just been like shirking their responsibilities and allowing this agenda to be pushed to where, well, yeah, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like then men would be trying to have to do the work of both, and we'd be in a similar, like, I don't think it's a coincidence that the decay of the world, the culture of the world has come as men have been either forcefully removed through over policing and the prison industrial complex. That's part of it. Then there's also the welfare systems that have replaced fathers with daddy government, making it to where like, oh no, we won't give you this stuff if the dad is there. So get rid of that motherfucker so that you can get more funding. You know,
perfect sense for people who are struggling, but 0 cents for understanding how this shit works.
If it's a legitimate thing, then it actually makes complete sense to have that be shit. Why is it not? It won't let me scroll down. I'm trying to get this thing up. Anyway, so there was this Chris Pratt thing. I'm not gonna try to play it now because I can't find it. But anyway, he says, like, don't be a turd. That was one of his little rules when he did his MTV Awards speech or whatever. And what he said is, if you're strong, you're supposed to be a protector. You're not supposed to be a bully. You're not supposed to be a dick and throw that weight around and just use it to abuse people and to terrorize people and to exploit people to get what you want.
Factual.
And if you are weak, then you need to, instead of being afraid, what you need to do is you need to be, he said, no, it wasn't if you're weak. It's if you're strong, do this. And if you're smart, be an influencer. That's what it was. Not if you're weak. Anyway, if you're strong, like if you're physically strong, do this. And if you're intelligent, do that. Instead of exploiting people, manipulating people, and all that stuff, instead use that to be a positive influence and to help solve problems and those sorts of things.
Yeah, but what if you're a stupid weenie? What
if
do you do?
If you're stupid and weak, I don't know. Figure out how you can help.
Go into the military. Get you some proper discipline under your belt.
But I think it's more important to look at the flip side of those virtues, right? Of being a positive influence and being a solution bringer if you are smart, and being a protector and a defender.
Sure.
And a heavy lifter. Yeah.
It doesn't change.
The flip sides of that, if you're strong, you could just be a tyrant. And if you're intelligent, you could just be a con man. So what he's saying is, don't be the negative aspects of those virtues. Be of those traits. Be the virtuous aspect of those traits. And I think that's where. So going back to if you look at the feminine, and the divine feminine, like the fact that there is there is this image and likeness that I'm talking about. We're all created in God's image and likeness. Well, that's man and woman. Like it needs both. And I think when you have men not doing the things that they're supposed to do as men, and then women try to fill those roles, women do actually end up doing less sometimes of what they were doing before, because they're having to try to pull both of those roles. And if you look at the history of humanity, no one shapes culture more than women.
Man,
women raise the kids from birth to the point where then they go with their dad.
They run the future. Women control our future.
They control the future. And so when you start telling them, like, no, what you need to do is have 3 jobs and let a daycare raise your kids, or let the kids raise themselves and let Nintendo and the Disney Channel and, PlayStation run your kids. Raise your kids, and the TV and whatever, like look at the shit that's been raising kids,
for sure.
Because what has happened? You've had this thing where now we have, like, okay, so now mom and dad both have to work, and maybe both have to work multiple jobs, and the kids just like have a key and they just let themselves in and they do whatever, and that's how we end up where we are. That shit did not happen 100 years ago.
Yeah.
There were no latchkey kids 100 years ago. Or, well, I shouldn't say there weren't any, but it was the rare exception, and it has become damn near the rule.
Right. And there's it's not a coincidence that it's also the rise of the overarching state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And let's not forget that the state has many tentacles, and one of those tentacles is the media, entertainment.
Yep.
And that's where you remember when we were kids, like, it was go outside and don't come back until the sun starts going down, but you better be back before the street lights come on. That was it. And you went out, you played, and you created games with your friends, and you solved problems together. If there was a beef, you figured it out and you sorted it out. You may even fight a little bit, but you figured out how to work that shit out, and you still stayed friends, and you went back home to your parents and everything. Now shit, like, kids are staying inside, and they're like allergic to the sun.
You got to think, majority of these kids are already fucking allergic to half near everything. So, besides that, it's the lack of, how do you put it? You know how, like, when parents, it's like a new child, they're like, okay, we got to do everything to keep this little nigga just safe. And then the next child, you're like, I got the grip on you. I don't got to do that. You'll be safe. The other one was all right when he did that. And then the last child, you're like, oh, that little nigga got it. And, like, you guys are a lot more lackadaisical on it.
Yeah.
And I think that transition just came over to my generation when it's come to parenting, because we're the parent. Well, the people above us are like the parents now, but, like, they saw that lackadaisical transition as well as I did. So maybe that implemented itself into our culture and how we take care of our kids, because sometimes people attempt to let the village take care of their kids, aka their own kids, and they become a lot more open. Granted, I'm not no daddy, so I really wouldn't know how this game works, but I most definitely had a daycare of kids, aka my siblings, that I had to most definitely run around with and just try and instill things. Like, my siblings love getting outside, because I'd be damned if they sat down and watched TV all day. I got yelled at for watching TV. Right. No, little nigga, you running outside too. Go pretend that your bike is a broomstick, like from Harry Potter. Come on, go race some invisible people. Like, I need you to do something.
Yeah. Right, so, and that's why they've got to remove men from these kids' lives, because even the idea of a masculine role model, they want to remove that shit too, and the reason is because we teach our kids responsibility. That's our job. When a mom teaches, which she does teach. She teaches love. And of course, these are all generalities, but she teaches love. And my job's to teach my kids, don't do that stupid shit. My son, my son, when he was 16, I happened to be that we have this outbuilding that him and his buddies hung out in. And I was in the next room, which was our temple. And they didn't know I was out there. It was in the middle of the night. And I don't even remember what they were trying to get my son to do, but they were like, come on, we're going to go do this. We're going to do that. And he looked, and I could hear him, but not one of them knew I was there. And he said, I'm not going to do that stupid shit. And they said, why? My dad will beat my ass if I come home after doing that shit all messed up. I'm not doing it. And so we didn't do it. Again, it was my job to protect my kids and to teach them values and to teach them what it means to be a decent human being. So they want to remove that because they don't want decent, and people will be like, why? They don't want people relying on one another. They want people relying on them. And if we're learning responsibility and learning that, hey, you know what? Dad's always been there for me. I can go to him if I need something. If they've got that, then they're not going to the welfare office, filling out 20,000 things and getting under the thumb.
Factual.
I was going to try to get one of my kids to bring the book up here, but my daughter said she left it at her apartment. So there's this book that I read way back when. It's called Living a Life That Matters by Rabbi Harold Kushner. And he describes what he calls like mother love and father love. And because this kind of fits in with what you were just saying, Marcus. So y'all roll with me here and see if you picking up what I'm putting down. So he says that mother love is that like kind of like the grace of God, like nothing you can do is going to make me stop loving you. No matter what, I'm always going to love you. And how great that is, but at the same time, how incomplete that is. You have to have on the other side, I'm proud of you because of what you did. Mm-hmm. He says, what if you turned in a test or a research paper or something like that? You turned in a research paper, okay? And the professor took the research paper and just wrote A+, didn't even look at it. On the one hand, it's like, sweet, I got an A.
Right.
But there's a part of you that's like, damn, man, I put a lot of work into that. You didn't even fucking read it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you did. It's good enough anyway. Like, well, then what the fuck why am I doing it in the first place?
Why am I trying?
Why am I trying? Like, we need to know that what we're doing is worthy of something. And that's the thing that you get from your dad. You don't get that from your mom. And by the same token, we need to know that even when we fuck up,
you're still good.
You're still okay. I remember Larry King one time said something about like I think it was Larry King, somebody, one of these famous old people. Anyway, he said like, if his mom, if he did something, he could do like the worst thing or whatever, and his mom would be like, "Oh, it couldn't have been him," like that sort of like he could be a serial killer or something like that. She'd be like, "Oh, there's no way." Like she'd be
my baby,
my baby. You wouldn't have done that. We need to have both of those, and those complement each other, and that's part of if you think about the soul of humanity. Mm-hmm. That we're talking about here. Like, this isn't just back to what we talked about last week or week before about, Ephesians 6. This isn't just about the physical plane here. This is about something bigger than what we can see and feel. This is about the soul of humanity. And when you take the soul of humanity and you tell the soul of humanity that the person who says you are worthy, I'm proud of you because you put the work in and you got the job done. When that goes away and all you get is
trophy.
the participation trophy
Man.
mentality, you castrate humanity.
Sure.
And ironically, we are castrating a lot of humanity right now, by choice. And it's just there was
psychologically thrown.
There's a person who put this whole thread together. I started following him a few days ago. I think their name is Tulip on Twitter or whatever. But they're going through like how like nobody told them all the stuff that would happen when they did their transition, all the horrible things. Like it's some turn your kids away if you got kids. Anyway, there's some stuff that is not really calculated into some of this idea around some of these surgeries and stuff. This dude said that, he got his junk cut off and got the other stuff, put in his place. He said they can't remove the whole thing. So you still have like the base and it still gets hard in the morning. And it's just a nub. And there's no feeling in that area. And like, anyway, there's a lot of stuff that this isn't just something where you're just like fucking changing outfits.
No, not at all.
This is devastating. And he's talking about like he's going to sue. He's trying to detransition back the other way. And some of the stuff's irreparable. But anyway, it's a metaphor, I think, for like what's happening. Like we are taking that part of us that needs to know, that has a burning desire to know that we are good enough, not just because we know that if we fall down, mommy's going to pick us up and kiss and
make everything
bandage
better.
our boo-boos,
Yeah.
We need to know that the dad who we look to for approval approves of us.
Right. For sure. And yeah, and something you said earlier too, you were talking about the divine feminine, and the divine feminine's huge for me. The
Absolutely.
big 7-pointed star behind me symbolizes the divine feminine. Mm-hmm. The divine feminine is major, and the divine feminine is things like the taking care of the hearth. It's the undying love, many of the things you talked about. But when you remove the masculine, you're also removing the divine masculine. We're talking about Jeebus. We're getting rid of Jesus with this. We're getting rid of Jupiter. We're not just getting rid of Mars. Mars could be a shitbag sometimes. Yeah. we're not just getting rid of him. We're getting rid of, Dionysus, who is the power of having fun. We're getting rid of the male Godhead, and we can't do that shit either. That's not going to work.
We're trying to create a sculpture with one arm.
They gave it a very, very fancy word for it that everybody hates now. It's called patriarchy.
Yeah.
And, take down the patriarchy. Y'all know that
whoever the hell came up with that was some fools and on some bullshit, because we know that shit was equal parts matriarchy too.
Yes. I'm about to say, like, okay, I understand how certain people think that patriarchy just runs shit, but no, that's not how it goes, love, because I'm in a Haitian family and we run off of a matriarchy at this point. My grandmother ain't nobody to fuck with. So there's a lot of things that run either patriarchal or matriarchal, but it's always a balance between it. Mm-hmm. There will always be a balance. Mm-hmm. It don't matter if it's behind closed doors or at a big ass council, there's always a balance. And Mother Nature is the biggest point to prove to it. Mother Nature is the scariest bitch on here, but some of the most dangerous fucking things are male animals.
For sure. And on the tree of life in Kabbalah, there's a balance between the pillar of severity and the pillar of mildness. The pillar of severity is the feminine side. Peep this. This is the balance is, these are going to sound familiar. They are the kingdom, the foundation, just the meaning of each of the sephira that are on each side and in the middle. In the middle is basically the Father, Son, Holy Ghost planet. That's it. That it is the crown, the beauty, the foundation, which is Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, and then the earth or our world. That's the middle. The left side, when you're looking at it, the left side is the pillar of severity, which is the female side, which involves understanding. That's nice. It understands war, and which is also strength, and it is the accumulation of knowledge. Those are the feminine side. The masculine side are love and command or rulership and wisdom. So you're losing your command, your wisdom, and love if you lose the masculine side. You're losing understanding, the strength to hold it, and the knowledge to learn something new if you eliminate the female side. We have to have it all. It is important to move as human beings, as a solid human being, with all of these powers going with us, because and you can get away with that middle pillar because it assumes that you balance the other two. But if you are on one side or the other, you are either participating in evil, and this is directly from a book called The Book of Balance. You are either directly enabling evil, or on the other side, which is the passive side, the masculine side. If you are too peaceful, you are enabling evil, and if you are too warlike, or too feminine, you are becoming evil. And we can't have either one of those. We have got to be the power of strength in the world. Men are important. We are, and masculinity is the foundation of the family.
Deep game. So look, you notice how Marcus said women are the more aggressive and the men are the more stable to start. It's how we have to move. Men have to be stoic. We can't let shit disrupt us off our course at all. Women, when men get mad, we have to sit there and we have to look at each other and we have to still talk our shit while composed. When women get mad, oh, you better run. Especially if she got something in her hand. You better duck, dodge, dive, dip, and duck again, because women are scary. They are, but it's a beautiful essence to it, but it's something that's overshadowing and that's overlooming at this moment in time. And it's something that men have to realize is either you create, either you're in the manosphere, which is a whole bunch of jumble, and you either take certain things from that and you try and go forward, but then it's toxic. So then you either go back on their side and, try and appease them, then you're being a bitch and you're not being a man. So you have to, and this is what I woke up with today is at the end of the day, there's consequences to everything, and consequence only has a negative connotation because you use it after somebody has done something bad, but consequences are just cause and effect. So at the end of the day, I'm going to deal with the consequences of running through shit like how I should see a man should do it and see it fit. And I will deal with the repercussions at the end of the day with it, but that's what a man has to do.
So you got...
What's up?
You got your didn't you say you got an etymology thing or something like that?
I got an etymology.
So you probably don't even have to look in your etymology book to figure out what the word consequence actually means if you break it down.
Con, C-O-N is
with or in.
And then sequence is next.
Yeah. It's it's just in sequence. It's it's the thing that comes next. That's all it is. That's all it means. It's if you do this, then this happens. And that's one of the other things too. And it's kind of interesting. I know I bring this up a lot and I, forgive me if this is if this bothers people but I get a lot of fruit from the what? What do you do?
You said, excuse me. I'm
okay. You're absolving me. Okay. Yeah. No, but the Bitcoin Mystery School people and the whole the Royal Path podcast and that the Bitcoin Mystery School, it's interesting. We did it to take a Bitcoin class, but man, we talk about so much more than just I think Bitcoin is maybe 10% of the conversation, and the rest of it is all spiritual stuff and all the other things going on in the world. But one of the things that that Vin was talking about is, sin and what sin means, and
Off the mark.
that the wages of sin is death. And yeah, so did we talk about this already last week or something?
No, I actually was using the word sin in my raps earlier, and I broke it down to being off the mark. That's
what it is. It just means to miss the mark. It means, so if you take it back to like the Latin roots, it means without, or it means like if not. And so when you start to really look at stuff like that, it's like, okay, so the wages of sin is death. Well, that doesn't mean like, hey, you did something I don't like. You stood in front of the TV. I'm going to kill you. Like, no, that's not what that means. What that means is if you don't shoot your prey correctly, you don't eat. If you miss, you die because you don't get to eat. If you don't prepare and water your garden correctly, if you miss the mark, you die.
Starve, right?
And so and all these other things. And so then back to when we get into this sexual stuff, like there's diseases and stuff, and there's all this, and like all this, like you start doing a bunch of different things, and it's kind of like going to one of these like free live streaming the UFC fights sites or whatever. You're going to get a bunch of pop-up ads, and one or two of them may actually like take over your computer and destroy everything that you have. So be careful,
right?
Maybe you should. And what one of the things Ben says all the time, he says, you can't con an honest man. And yeah, so like if you're going to try to get the free live streams, well, you're open yourself up to get got, because you're trying to get over on something, and now it's not to say that there aren't some other things. God bless you. That there aren't some other things that could happen. Like the thing that happened to me was like, it was me and like 130 other people who all have the same internet service provider. So like, I don't know who let the bad guys in the back door, but it got ugly. Anyway, so the point being though, that everything has a consequence. And so when you do certain things, Murphy's Law, all of the things that are possible can happen. Everything that can happen, what is it? It's Murphy's Law gets like a bad rap because it sounds like it's like something of like Murphy's Law, haha, bad things happen. Like, no, all Murphy's Law is that if something happens, it's because it was within the possibilities of things that could have happened.
Yeah.
Which is the simplest way of describing it. Like, no shit, motherfucker. Like, you're famous for saying something that's obvious to everybody. Like, hey, this thing happened. That means it was possible. Really? You don't say.
You're kidding me. It was possible, and I just experienced it. Oh,
right. Oh, shoot.
Right. At the end of the day, I guess what we want to do is kind of get back to, what do we fucking do about it? What is the solution?
I figured that was one of your boys, Nicco. I was like, I don't know what this is. It's a
Z for Zoes. Okay. I'm not throwing no gang signs. Okay.
No. I meant what he wrote. I was like, I know that's not Creole because I speak French.
Way too nappy. Way too nappy out here. You're gonna be nappy.
Oh, way too nap. Damn, it's all right. So the spaces threw me off. I'm like, I'm trying to read some other language into it, and it's damn, man. All right, my bad, Marcus. Go ahead.
Is that Swahili? What the hell?
Shit, no, it wasn't that bad. I'm not. Golly, I'm not as racist as you, Marcus. Come on.
I know. I fucking hate statists. I am just as bigoted against statists as they come.
I'm against the whole race of statists.
Right? Yeah, for sure. Their religion is awful, but anyhow, the solution is just to be yourself, and the solution really is stop letting these people tell you you're toxic when all you're fucking doing is trying to be a good person and help people out. Stop letting them tear your bullshit down, because this is all nonsense. They, how is it any of their damn business how you are to begin with? And if you aren't worrying about, if you aren't doing anything to them, how do they have any say anyway? But my advice is to just be yourself. I don't change who I am. This is who I am. There is no, and I know Chad outside of here, and I can tell with Nicco, these dudes are just like they are on here. Does that mean that when we get out of here, I go see my wife and I'm like, welcome to Aquarian Anarchy, Amber. I'm glad that you're here. No, I don't do that shit.
That would be so awesome if you did, though.
Right.
I'm going to do that when I go downstairs.
Right.
When I go downstairs, I'm doing that.
Right.
Oh, shit, man.
But it's not that, it's exactly the same, but this is what you get. I don't change who I am. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to manipulate you into being something they want you to be instead of being what you are. If it is your nature to kind of bounce off of something Chad said earlier, if it is your nature to be the smart guy, be the smart guy. Learn all the shit that you need to learn. If you're what you're good at is fixing a car, fix a car. If you're good at doing construction, do construction. Whatever it is, don't let them. And that works on both sides. They tell me that I'm supposed to love sports and be really into like fighting, and I'm supposed to like know everything there is to know about.
Good ass whooping. I'm not gonna lie.
And I'm supposed to know everything there is to know about fixing a car. Well, that's not what my masculinity taught me. Unfortunately, that's not talents that I possess. Doesn't make me any less of a man. What would make me less of a man is if I shirked my responsibilities and turned my back on
bitch.
Right.
Yeah.
And turn my back on my family. That would be what would make me.
That is one of the biggest hoest things that you could do ever is leave your kids and just walk away. Like at that point, you might as well castrate yourself because that's not a real man. Like at the end of the day, if you know the consequences of this, of you like, fuck it, I'm gonna go raw, and then guess what? You end up with the kid, and it's not with the person you want to be with, or you're not in the best situation, and you choose one of the two options, and I'm not gonna list the first one, but the second one is walking away from the kid. That's some real bitch shit to me. One of the biggest things and the biggest joys in my life are my siblings, and I don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
And I never would want to walk away from them.
Yeah.
So if you do anything in that regard, I have no respect for you whatsoever.
Yeah. And for those that look back and say, well, I'm 17. I was 17 when my first child was born. 17 years old. I was still in high school. I didn't know what the fuck to do. But you know what I did? I took care of my kids. I buckled down. I put myself through school. I worked and I did what I had to do to be a father to my kids. So put your fucking big boy pants on, get out there and be a goddamn man. And don't let these women do this shit alone, because at the end of the day, that child needs both of you. Yeah, and you better get out there and get it done.
Factual.
Facts. I ain't got nothing else, man. That's bars to end it. If you want to end it there.
Sounds good, man. I'll tell you what. Some of the best men that I know are sitting in this room right now. Love you guys.
Who's in there?
I'm talking about the two of you. I missed you guys both at Father's Day.
Yeah,
my dream is for the Anarchs to meet my family and have a hell of a good time.
Likewise. What's up, Jay? I see you in there. Jay is one of the guys who he's kind of maybe he's new to Twitter. I don't know, but I've been seeing him like pop up with like some of the stuff with Cannon and with Uncle Hotep and everything. And anyway, he's been coming in the Hotep's been told you chat, and then he's popped in here as well. But good dude. He made a nice little. I don't know if he made it, but he put this thing. It's the shot of me at Hotep Nation weekend last year where I'm like sitting in the chair and I'm doing this. That's on the video open or whatever. And it has all the FBI people behind me and everything. He did that. That shit was hilarious. So I retweeted that earlier today.
You're exposing yourself a little more and more.
What's that?
You're exposing yourself a little bit more and more.
Look, hey, so while I'm here, let me just go ahead and promote. If y'all want to come to Hotep Con, if y'all want to get a chance to meet me and Hotep Jesus, Uncle Hotep, Cannon Hotep, Cassius Cam, all the guys, Taylor and everybody, Brody is going to be out there. I'm not sure who all else is going to be there. I know Sonny Johnson, Project Rook, Kim Klasick, and Wendy O are going to be out there. So speaking of, we talked about masculinity this whole time. There's going to be some of the most powerful, most intelligent, and just like really like dogged fighting for your freedoms women in the world out there at Hotep Nation Weekend. If you want to come out, go to hotepnation.com and get your tickets. Put in the promo code FBI for 10% off.
What the fuck I tell y'all?
I'm telling you.
I told y'all this man's an agent.
I got to get my promo down. Listen. I got to get my promo down. I got to make sure that they know who my fans are when we show up. When we pull up, everybody, FBI, you don't have to put on the gear and everything when you come. I'm bringing mine. I'm bringing my outfit.
Will you give me a hat if I show up?
Give you a hat?
Yeah,
if you show up, I'll give you my hat, my FBI hat.
Right, hey, Granny, can I get some money?
yeah. Pay your bills first, man. Get that shit taken care of. But anyway, no, this has been a fun show tonight. I really enjoyed it, and I kind of have to echo Marcus's sentiments. Like there aren't two men I would rather be doing this project with than you guys, and it's been really fun, and I'm looking forward for what the next couple of years present to us, because we've been doing this together for 2 years now, and it's been pretty epic, and I know it's only going to get better from here. So
for sure, love y'all, and everybody, stay free.
Peace, y'all.